Okay, looks like we are up and running. We should be, it says we're live here on YouTube, and I do see myself. Hopefully I can hear myself as well. Cool. Look good, sound good. We've got a couple people already tuned into the stream chat. Hello and welcome to all of you guys for we've got some good stuff here on the stream planned ahead. We're going to be doing some pre-market analysis as per usual. The markets are not going to open up for a couple more hours. So this gives us a chance to chat together here in the live room. I know you guys are, you know how it goes. We chat and we discuss and we go through some pairs and analysis. Look for some potential trade setups during the week and all sorts of good stuff. So thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Trader Nick. If you are new to the stream, I invite you to hit that subscribe button. We do these on a regular basis. We do all sorts of educational content here on the channel as well as live streams. Today, I'm very excited to be tuned in. I see JJ, Price Action Trader, Disamello, Michael, Abdullah, welcome guys. Thanks so much for being here and tuning in. Miguel as well. Good to see you guys. Awesome to see some familiar faces and some new ones. So thank you guys very much for being here. Let's get into the charts. What we're going to be doing again, just a little heads up. We're going to be getting into the charts. We're going to be taking a look at some of these currency pairs, seeing if we have some interesting trade setups and some potential levels here coming up in the next week. So let's go ahead and open some of the majors. I'm sure we'll do more than just these. As always, if you have questions or concerns, what you can do is you can ask them in the stream chat. I'm happy to discuss them with you guys as we go along. So I am going to ask that you guys get comfortable, that you guys get ready. Let's get into some of these charts and let's see if we can find some potential trade setups for this week. We've got a big week coming up. I'd like to start really quick just by going through Forex Factory and seeing if we have some news to watch for this week. Let's change it to this week and take a look here. You can see got a good number of red folders here. So we are likely to see a market that's moving this week. You've got GBP, CPI, that sticks out to me. New Zealand retail sales probably will move some stuff. Fed Chair Powell speaks this week. That's on Monday. So tomorrow, that'll be interesting to watch as well. Let's see. We've also got some European news, parliamentary elections, retail sales for GBP. We already mentioned that. Some Euro news again. FOMC meeting minutes. That's going to be an interesting one to watch with the USD on Wednesday. That could cause some stir in the market. So overall, also core retail sales. That one pops out to me as a big one for the CAD. So we could be watching those to see what's going on. Price Action Trader says, let's take a look at gold first. Sure, I don't mind starting out with gold. Let's pull up TradingView here because I do not have access to gold on my broker, unfortunately. Let's see, XAU, USD. So we did get an interesting play. Let's start fresh with gold. With gold was interesting, right? Because we had this structural level of resistance in the market. And what we saw was actually a fake out at this time on gold. So we talked about last week that we saw an interesting setup here on gold. Now, if we get my notepad out, we can take a look at XAU USD. Again, welcome guys. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Trader Nick. If you are new to the stream, I invite you to subscribe. We do all sorts of analysis and live streams here in the future. So I don't want you to miss any of those. So make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell so that you can tune in to future streams and hang out with us. Okay, so gold had an interesting setup. We had sell points on gold. And we talked about it a couple days ago, really, that on this level, there's a good chance that gold was going to sell off. Now, our initial analysis was actually right. But what we saw was a structure break by the bulls. But this is a pure example of how markets can really confuse you sometimes, right? They can do exactly what you don't think they're going to do, right? So once we saw this break, we said, oh, well, there's a good chance that the market's controlled now by bulls. And this is a prime example, guys, of a fake out, right? Because you had a fake break of this move. And now we've seen price. We were expecting a potential bounce right here for the bulls, but we've actually seen it break that level again. So where are we going from here? Well, XAU USD, we can't know for sure, of course, as always. We don't know where the market's going. However, we can make proper adjustments and adaptive trade ideas based on what we see in the charts. I think that, again, we may see sellers step in here because it is showing that we've had a nice rollover from this this level of resistance. You can kind of see that this range here held nicely as a short-term resistance, and we've seen prices fall back down from that level. However, You know, I think that this market is very, very choppy. You can see price going back and forth really quickly there. Oftentimes, markets will consolidate in times like this. So what we could see here is we could see some sort of retracement from the bulls and maybe try to test this trend line resistance again. So that's something to watch for this week, potentially. I think that we could see a retracement on gold back up to that level there. Does that make sense on XAU USD? Siggy says, what's good? How's it going, Siggy? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Abdul as well. Hi. Hi, guys. Welcome to the stream. Hope everybody's having a great, you might be evening for you. It's morning. Well, it's just afternoon for me. So, again, thanks everybody for tuning into the stream here. We are doing our pre-market analysis here before the markets open, going through some charts and figuring out some potential trade setups, as well as just kind of getting an overall grasp of what's on the docket for this week here in the currency market. Hopefully that makes sense there on gold. I'm going to go ahead and move on. We've got a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of stuff to look at this evening now. So I do hope you guys will stick around. Let's take a look at USDJPY. I'd like to see what's going on UJ. We did get, at the end of the week last week, we got a nice retracement there. On Friday, we saw some bullishness in USDJPY. You can see retracing up to the, let's see, if we draw, can we even draw a fib? There's not really a pretty fib to draw here, but really, if we're looking at the 4-hour chart, what I do want to point out is the fact that we had some structure here that actually got broken towards the end of the week, right? Look at this. So we identified, here's kind of breaking down what we saw on UJ in the last couple weeks, right? Sellers controlling this market, pushing price down. Then we actually got a failure to make lower lows by bears. In fact, we saw a pretty sideways choppy market. You can see price going back and forth and finding support and resistance. But here's what happened towards the end of the week, which was really, really interesting. Sellers were like hanging out right here, right? Because they clearly had this level in check, right? We had sellers here, we had sellers here, sellers here. And what we saw is that we did not quite come back to test the lower half of this channel. In fact, price pushed up again and broke through that level of resistance and in fact closed above it. So that's going to be something to watch on UJ this week. It's very possible that buyers, could have gained some strength after that. You can see they did get rejected towards the end of the week, but you never know with Friday trading because Friday trading can be a little bit, volatile, can be a little bit unexpected. So we're going to watch UJ for sure here on the open to see what we've got. What I'm going to do also, I really quickly would just like to take a look at FinViz and see what the futures are saying right now. If we go to Forex here, so GBP is looking down. What is USDJPY? I don't think these trade actually, never mind, so ignore that. But should be interesting to see what we do get with UJ coming into the open here. So again, structural levels of resistance here being held in the last week or so, but we broke above and closed above right at the end of the week last week. So that's going to be interesting to see what's going on there. So again, structural level of resistance, we broke through and we held that break. So we'll see if we can get some continuation off that move. I think that there's a good chance here that we see some sort of movement here to the bull side off of UJ, especially with that structure break to the high side. So that's something I would be willing to watch for this week on UJ. Does that make sense? Does that help on UJ, guys? Do me a big favor and just let me know in the chat. Put yes or no if we are good to move on to the next currency pair. That just helps me keep the ball rolling. Again, guys, thanks so much for showing up and doing the analysis with me. I know a lot of people like to look forward to these streams. They like to get in here and do the pre-market with me because I know, it gives you kind of an overall look. We take a look at the markets together for the upcoming week. Gives us all a chance to kind of just get involved. Thank you guys for your feedback. Blake says, what's up, Nick? How's it going, Blake? Welcome to the stream. Thanks, guys, for your feedback. Cool. We're good to move on then. Let's take a look at... I'd like to take a look at EURUSD next. Sticking to the order here, structurally we have some interesting stuff going on here with EURUSD, and we're going to see what's headed next for EURUSD. In fact, last week we hit this thing right on the nose. We got it right. in our analysis on stream. In fact, I don't know how many of you guys remember it, but let's break down kind of quickly what we saw and what we covered last week, because I think it's a really great opportunity to learn from. So we identified that this was happening, right? We had a nice trend line here, very structurally sound movements to the upside. You can see buyers continuously pushing price higher and higher, right? But here, this is where we got something interesting. Recapping from last week, we had a nice break of structure by the bears, right? Buyers failed to buy this market up. We were expecting a good chance that markets continued higher, but that's not what we got. In fact, we got a movement to the downside. And check this out. We made a movement down here. We formed some temporary low here. We found support there and pushed right back up to that level of resistance here in the market, right? Because we had buyer support at this level. You can see buyers stepping in, right? But that was not the case now. And now that this level has been broken by sellers, there was a good chance here, and we saw it happen nicely, that sellers would roll that price over. And in fact, that's what we got. And what you see is that not only that, we did it again, really. I know this trend line's not perfect, but you can kind of see that it kind of came into that range right there again, where sellers found resistance again and pushed price to the downside. And we continued down to exactly what we talked about last week. We said, well, this move seems to be in motion. Where is the market likely to go? Well, we identified that we were likely going to come test this structural low. And in fact, at the end of the week, we landed right on the nose of where we had talked about. Now, it's not always going to work out that way. Unfortunately, trading analysis is never perfect, right? So we don't get that right every single time, but we got it right pretty well on this one. And you can get it right enough that you come out with a profit. That's the whole goal of being a good trader, right? You play the game like a casino, not like a player, right? Gamblers come in here and they're looking just to make a quick buck, but casinos know that they don't need to be right every time, because they have an edge, and over many trades, or in their terms, games, right, or hands or whatever, they're going to become overall profitable and consistent. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to analyze the market, trying to come up with probable scenarios and work with the trades, right? So we had the market move right to our direction. We had that break of structure. We had a retest opportunity here to potentially get in, and sellers took over this market and rolled it down to this structural level of support here. So hopefully that makes sense there. But here's the thing that's going to be interesting to see on EURUSD. We'll see if we can get some sort of bounce off of that structural low. Just how we identified it as a major structural point for sellers to head to, we also can see that there's a good chance here that buyers may step in and support this level. You can see it's a massive level of structure. Check this out, guys. This is important. When identifying structural levels, I think it's super key to look for what we talk about again and again on this channel, which is V movements in price action, right? When you have something like this, right, you have a movement to the upside and it's very quickly sold off. See that price rejection there? That's kind of a key indicator that price levels at those points had sellers waiting. And again, oftentimes in the market, you see that sort of thing happen again and again. So we saw one back here, right? So here's what we're going to be watching. We saw price move to the downside and very quickly, sharply form a V movement to the upside here on euro dollar. So that's going to be something interesting to watch here coming into this week, as we are now testing that very same structural level of support. We want to see if we can get some sort of a bounce. Now, where could we see that bounce head if we get some sort of movement here? And I know this trend line is going to be terrible, but you guys get the point. You have this trend line here across the top for this sell trend going on. I think that there's a good chance that if we see some sort of a bounce, we could be headed to go test that structural level of resistance where sellers may be ready to step back in. Guys, does this make sense? I know EURUSD has been a lot of people's one to talk about lately. I've been having a lot of questions about EURUSD. I want to make sure that we are good to move on here from EURUSD. Thanks very much for you guys' support. Thank you very much for your feedback and letting me know that we're good. Gary says yes. Cool. Good to see you, Gary. Thanks so much for showing up. Abdullah as well. Thank you guys, all of you, for showing up and being here on the stream. What's cool is there's a couple of you guys that are regulars that are constantly, you're putting in the work right alongside myself, and that's super cool. So I do appreciate you tuning in, spending some time with me this afternoon or evening for you maybe. But super cool to see you guys in here. Awesome. Cool. Good to move on from EURUSD. that should be some good stuff to watch for on EURUSD this week. GBPUSD, looking at the 4-hour chart, I'm interested to see what happens this week on GBP USD. It's interesting because this structure is looking super oversold, and it's tough to justify a lot of selling here, right? Because at some point it becomes stretched really far, and at some point sellers run out. Right, at some point buyers step in. So I would not recommend being a seller here because it's looking very oversold, right? But we could look for some opportunities on the buy side. Now we have some structural levels here that I'd like to point out. You can see if I scroll back enough, you can see that this structural point here is going to be one to watch as well on GBP USD. As we plummet here quite a bit to the downside, it's possible that we see this level hold. We could get some sort of a bounce here off that structure. Now, what's going to be interesting is to see if we watch GBP USD, you have this trend line level of resistance, and we talk about it often on the channel, but a lot of times prices or movements in the market like to retrace. They like to come back and test structures of support or resistance, including trend lines. A lot of times that's what you get in the markets, right? That's why the market tends to move in waves, is because a lot of times you have buyers and sellers entering and exiting positions, right? So you have price moving up, it's retracing, it's moving up, it's retracing, right? And the reason for that is because there's people who are taking profits, there's people who are opening shorts, there's a natural market flow. And sometimes you do get movements like this where there's not a lot of flow, but eventually that flow changes and it returns to some sort of a balance, right? So something happens where you have a movement like this, and eventually you'll see some sort of a retracement. Now, doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go, we don't necessarily have to continue this trend, but there's a good chance when you have this kind of corrective continuation movement, right? A lot of times you get those nice movements, right? So in a downtrend, you have a similar story, right? Where you're forming lower lows, lower highs, right? And you're moving in a corrective format. But a lot of times markets that get stretched like this, you'll see that they reverse very strongly. Abdullah mentions the point that it'll explode, and there's a very good chance that that will happen, right? Because look at this. Here's an example of a market in absolute tear to the upside, right? Things change in the markets. Things are not always going to be pinpoint perfect, right? Things, some people who like to trade corrective waves and stuff, sometimes this will really mess you up because the markets are not perfect. But take a look at this. We had a huge movement up to, this is in January of 2019, a massive move upwards on the pound, and look at what we were met with. Massive sell pressure, and this is kind of the format of markets. Markets tend to, they're very they have balance, right? Sometimes when things get out of balance, the market will correct itself and retrace. And that's where, you can look for opportunities to take advantage of this. In fact, in my VIP group that I do offer, this is kind of my primary method of trading. I look for opportunities where price is stretched and give, chances to look for opportunities really to come in and take advantage of stretched markets looking to potentially correct. So GBP USD is looking interesting because I think that we could see some structural level of support hold here along that black line that we identified earlier. So that's going to be something to watch for this week. Now, if we again make a movement to the upside, it's possible that we check out this level of resistance here. By the way, guys, I hope everybody had a really nice weekend. I certainly did. I hung out with a lot of friends and really just took some time away from the charts. I've been on the charts and making videos constantly. This week, you guys may have seen the vlog that I did. I posted it this morning, but I actually had a friend do the editing for that video, which was a huge help, and I think he did a really good job. What's kind of cool is, editing those videos is quite a bit of work, so it's kind of cool to have somebody who's, good at it, just kind of take over that role and do that for the channel. So that's been really cool. Let's move on here from pound dollar here, and let's take a look at USD Canadian. I'd like to see what's going on with USDCAD. This is interesting. So we actually talked about this last week on stream. We talked about the fact that structural levels of resistance were waiting up here, and in fact they held really nicely here on Friday. We're looking at the 4-hour chart again. You can see on Friday we had just a massive sell-off on USDCAD. So that's going to be something interesting to see what we see next on USDCAD, right? I think we have some structural levels here in the market that we can watch for to potentially come back to. So that's going to be interesting. Ken says he has a good week, had a good weekend. I'm super glad. Thanks so much. for sharing. I'm glad to hear that. You know, as a trader, sometimes it's a very stressful environment at times, being a trader, and sometimes people forget that it's really important to kind of de-stress and to get away from the charts. You know, for those of you guys who saw the video, I literally could not wait. I believe when I filmed the video or the vlog that I posted this morning, it was probably a week ago or 2 weeks ago that I shot the part where I went and washed my car. And the reason I was actually so excited to wash my car, Ken, you might appreciate this. The reason that I was so excited to wash my car is because, you know, I had gotten up early that morning. We did a live stream. I put together a video. I posted, you know, a strategy idea video. I answered questions with members. I took some trades. I opened and closed some trades, right? We did some analysis on the charts. And, you know, there comes a point where you can sit and look at markets for so long that eventually, you know, you get into kind of just a grind mode. And of course that's necessary, but there comes a point where you kind of break out of that, and just something as simple as washing my truck was such a relief. You know, it's such a clearing your head kind of thing. And sometimes you need that, especially with the weekend. It's a great chance to kind of step away from the charts and do something else and come back with a fresh head. So good to see all of you guys doing that here with me. I hope that you did have a refreshing weekend. I certainly did. I had some time with friends and family, and actually headed to go see my girlfriend this afternoon. We're going to hang out again. I hope you guys enjoyed that other video that we did together. That was a lot of fun to do. You know, video creation as well is kind of something that is definitely good for my mindset as well. I do enjoy doing video content for you guys because it is exactly, Drunken Monkey just said it, it is therapeutic. Making video content for you guys, that's a little bit, you know, it's still on topic, but it's enjoyable and it's a little bit more on the entertaining side. That's really a relief for me as well. And it allows me to connect with people that are in the trading space in a different way. I think it's important that we understand that, yes, guys, we are all here, we're all trading, we're doing technical analysis, we're understanding the markets, doing fundamental things, but at the end of the day, we're all still human beings, we're still people, and that mindset and correcting the psychological issues and mistakes that people make, not only will it help you in just your life, but it will also help in your trading, right? So it's kind of an important thing to remember. Gogo says, I was just impressed with the chin up form, which I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I thought that was funny because you pointed out that I was pretty close to touching the ceiling. And I literally, when I was editing that, or when I was posting that video and watching it back, I literally saw that and I was like, somebody is going to make a comment about how close I am to hitting my head. Abdul actually makes a good point about USDCAD moving to the side. Right? We have a sideways market here. We have a very choppy market moving back and forth here on USD Canadian. I think that's a super good point. Very simple concept. But remember, guys, that as traders, it's important to be adaptive. It's important to look at things you know, with the perspective of I'm going to trade what the market is giving me, not I'm going to trade what I want to trade, right? Because sometimes people will look to join a trend in the wrong types of markets. This is a market where, for the most part, you want to be a sideways trader, right? You want to be that mean reverter. Now, if you're not, if you don't like to trade that way, if you don't like to, you know, look for, you know, simple concepts of, you know, mean reversion, right? Oversold, overbought, that sort of thing. If that's not your trading style, then just don't trade USDCAD, right? Sometimes people forget that you don't have to trade something, right? You don't even have to take a trade. In fact, one of the things about trend traders is that the markets only trend about 30% of the time. So one thing that oftentimes trend traders will say is that it's a little bit difficult because sometimes you have to sit on your hands, right? If you're a person that prefers to trade in a market that's trending very strongly, you might have to sit on your hands for some time and wait for an opportunity to arise. And that is part of being a successful trader, is understanding that patience, right? It's literally so important to understand that. Now, the other thing is, you know, if you're a trend trader and you only get 30% of opportunities, you can find more trades by increasing the markets that you look at, right? So that's another thing to consider. If you are a trend trader, if you're looking to trade with market trends, if you're looking to, you know, take advantage of momentum, well, not all markets are going to be in momentum, but if you have 30% of the time that they're in momentum, well, if you expand your horizons, if you look at gold, if you look at silver, if you look at lots of markets, you might get more opportunities to trend trade. That's just a side note. I wanted to mention that there as we take a look. But again, as Abdullah shared, we are in a sideways market with USD Canadian. And what that means as traders is that if you're going to look at USD Canadian, you don't want to look at it from the perspective of trying to be a trend trader right now. In my opinion, and I'm sure many of you guys' opinion, it's best right now to try and trade with this sideways market action. So in fact, we actually talked about this exact level. We had a signal go off in the VIP room this week on the 4-hour and the 1-hour chart, looking at the fact that this structural level of resistance was very likely to hold. And we saw that this range here held nicely. I believe the trade was triggered right around here or some, I can't remember the exact point that we got in, but that was the trade setup for USD Canadian. And we did catch a nice sell-off here towards the end of the week, because that's the power of understanding charts, understanding supply and demand, and most importantly here, guys, understanding that the market that you're in, you need to trade accordingly. If you're in a trending market, trade some sort of trend action, or at least some sort of longer term mean reversion concept. If you're in a trending market, it's likely going to trend for a while, right? If you're in a sideways market, same story. The trend is sideways. So just a little side note, but looking at USD Canadian, I think we have some interesting levels here to watch. You can see we did roll over this past week on Friday. So I think that these structural levels of support down here are going to be interesting to watch. We also have some minor levels of support here that we did hold. You can see price pinned down and formed kind of an ugly pin bar here right there towards the end of the week there. So we'll see if we can get some sort of a temporary bounce off of that structural level of support. So, USD Swiss is forming a wedge under the daily support. We'll have to take a look at USD Swiss pretty soon, Minnie. Thanks for pointing that out. Terminator Gaming says, how many confluences makes you enter a trade, Nick? Great question. You know, it kind of depends. I have a couple different strategies that I actually trade. I think that it's nonsense to only trade one strategy. And let me tell you real quick why I think it's nonsense to only trade one strategy. We just got done speaking about the fact that markets change, right? And you have to be adaptive as a trader. If you look at a hedge fund doesn't operate on one trading strategy. In fact, most trading rooms and trading desks, they have multiple different trading styles, and most of them are automated, right? Most of them are algorithmic trading styles. They have multiple types of strategies. It's like when you're building your portfolio, if you're a stock investor, right, you want to invest in, you want to diversify your portfolio. You want to hold energy stocks, you want to hold technology stock, growth stocks, safer stocks, right? You want to kind of diversify. Well, it's no different in the world of trading. I believe that it's important to kind of diversify in terms of having 1 or 2 or 3 strategies. Now, you should not just add a strategy blindly. You should test the ever-living junk out of your strategy and make sure that you're comfortable with it, right? But I think it's important to have a strategy for trending markets. It's important to have a strategy for sideways markets. And you need to be able to look at the markets day to day. People like to look at, back tests for a long period of time. But here's the thing about markets. Trying to back test, sure, you can get some good results by looking at back tests. And it's surely important to consider the past. But the problem is so many people are looking on the left side of the chart for the right perfect strategy that they forget that the right has a mind of its own. Right? A lot of times markets change. Concepts in the markets change over time. Sure, there's some things that hold true over time, but there are minor tweaks, and the best traders I know are ones that adapt with current market environments. I'm going to keep that simple. You guys, I'm sure if you spend enough time here on the stream, if you spend enough time on the charts, that's something I can't give to you. You have to find it yourself. Okay? I can help you along the way, but at the end of the day, the best traders eventually they start to flow with the market. They start to understand how to be adaptive with the market. And that's something that I can't give you in a 1, 2, 3 step. It's something that you have to do by spending many hours and investing your time, energy, and money into what you're doing here. Okay? So to answer your question, Terminator Gaming, how many confluences makes you enter a trade, Nick? Kind of depends the strategy again, but something as simple as 2 confluences that I really like could, get me in. So let's say that I see a fib, right? This is a terrible fib, but let's say I see like this is the 61.8, right? And then it also lines up with a level of structural support. That's something that could get me into the trade if I like the underlying market and I like the overall trends in the market. That's something I could be looking at, right? That's something simple It's a simple price action based strategy that can really work if you are also trading in the right market environment, you're trading the right currencies. There's multiple factors that go into it, but it doesn't need to be necessarily extremely complicated. It just needs to be something that you've tried, you've tested. It's something that works for you. But something as simple as two confluence factors can get me into a trade if I like it. Okay, Ken says, do you establish your trend lines via the wick or the body of the candle? I personally use the body, Ken, but listen, you're going to have people on the internet. What's funny about the internet and about YouTube and about trading communities all around the world is that there's people who debate things endlessly, and then there's people who actually trade successfully. Here's the thing. Do what works for you. I've seen both work. People are drawing them both ways, right? People are drawing them with the wicks. People are drawing them with the candles. The overall idea, don't forget what the concept of a trend line is. The concept of a trend line is just to understand, okay, the market finds demand in this general area. It's not necessarily a pinpoint price. People are so caught up in getting the perfect entry that they forget the whole concept of, okay, this market's in a trend environment. Well, if price comes into this general region or this general range, it doesn't matter if I enter like this or if I enter like this, right? As long as I get the overall concept, right? Okay, that this market is, if you want to normalize your risk or if you want to, control your risk with some sort of stop, all of these things can work. It's more about understanding the concept of, okay, this market is overall trending. Let's find a high opportunity place. Combine it with the support level, combine it with the Fibonacci level, combine it with a fundamental analysis point, right? You see that the Bank of England has been doing X, Y, and Z. Well, there's a good chance that they buy up some sort of support, right? Things like that are going to create opportunities for you as a trader. I think people are looking for, the sad part is that many people want to look for the easy answers out there. That's why, honestly, I think I could grow my channel even quicker. If I was out there selling all the nonsense that's selling. And that's kind of the sad thing about YouTube and about social media is that people who lie and people who make it, seem stupid easy, they get more attention. But the reality, the truth of it out there is that trading is not necessarily easy, but it can be relatively simple. Now, many of you guys have heard in some of my other videos, I've said that before. Simple, but not easy, right? Trading doesn't need to be complicated, but it's not an easy process to get to the point where you're a successful trader. You guys know this though. Ken, you're very welcome. Thanks for your question. Gogo says, Aussie pair analysis, please, especially Euro Aussie and Aussie Yen when you're ready. Sure. Johanna says, hey, Nick, I like your videos. I learned a lot and did have a green week on trading 10 wins, 3 losses as a part-time trader. Johannes, that's fantastic. That's awesome. And good for you. And Johannes, I want to say to you, you showing up and putting in the time, putting in the effort and investing in yourself and coming up with a strategy yourself, that's what's going to make you a trader overall. And that's super, super important that you recognize that you had some losers, you had some winners, you had more winners than losers, and you ended the week green. And here's the thing, if you have a red week this week, don't get, disturbed. Do exactly what you did. And if it doesn't work out because the markets are just not picking your direction right, they're not with you, then that's okay. Many people, they swap strategies every single week because it worked last week, but it didn't work this week, so I'm giving up, right? And then it may have worked for the next 6 weeks, but they gave up that 1 week. So don't let that happen to you either. I'm not saying that it would. I'm just saying that, I've worked with a lot of traders over the time that I've been doing this, and that's something that I see as well. It's kind of sad because people, they find a strategy that seems to work for them for a little bit, and then they have one bad week or one bad trade, and maybe they let emotions get in the way and ruin their strategy, right? It may have actually been a perfectly fine strategy, but their emotions got in the way. So just a word of advice, be careful about that as well. So Ken says, you keep being you. I appreciate that, Ken. You keep being you, man. Ikena says, hello, Nick. Hey, welcome to the stream. Good to see you guys here. Please, can we take a look at Euro Yen? Sure we can. Euro Dollar. We already took a look at Euro Dollar, Ikena, but if you go back in the stream, you can see we've done UJ, we've done Euro USD, we've done GBPUSD, and we're looking at USDCAD. We're finishing up here, but you can go back to Euro USD anytime you'd like. So, let's move on. Let's do some Aussie currency pairs. I'd like to take a look at Aussie dollar here. And then we're going to also take a look at just a quick couple recaps here on the Aussie currency pairs. Let's see what we have here. So this is the analysis that I shared in the free Telegram group that I do offer. Right? We're in a channel here on Aussie dollar, and it's going to be interesting to see what we get this week. As we see Aussie dollar dip to the downside here, testing that lower structural level of support. Okay, so support here, coming into that support level again. So what's going to be interesting to see, you can see we had resistance here. Now this was kind of a fake out, right? Because we had a price movement above that level of resistance and very quickly came back down. So that's going to be one to take note of, is the fact that sellers were very strong, right? They faked to the upside, and then sellers pushed this price all the way down to that lower level of support. So what we're going to be looking for on Aussie dollar here this week is to see if we can get some sort of a bounce off of that structural low, maybe back to potentially head back and test that level of resistance here on the top. So that's a very simple analysis on on Aussie dollar. On the daily chart here, we're in an overall a downtrend channel. You can see price moving to the downside, oscillating between these two structural levels. So we'll see if we can get some sort of continuation of that pattern. Hopefully that makes sense. Kenneth says he'll check that out. Awesome. Mary Catherine, hello. Welcome to the stream. See you soon. Australia is going to be bullish based on the fundamentals. You know, I would tend to agree. You know, you almost see that with the technical side. You can see obviously we sold off very strongly here on Aussie dollar. However, a lot of times when markets get to be a severe oversold level, you know, eventually the markets find corrective phases as well. And I think that we could be coming into a corrective phase here on Aussie dollar potentially this week. Okay, does that make sense on Aussie dollar? Do me a favor, guys, put yes or no in the chat if you understand, if we're good to move on from Aussie dollar here. Terminator says fundamentals are blending in with your analysis. I'd like to say that I knew they were, but I did not. Personally, I primarily look at technicals. As you guys may have seen in our podcast was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday. Podcast with Garrett and Frank. Those guys are a little bit more on the fundamental side. Sure, they look a little bit more at stocks, but I'm going to convince Garrett to do a little bit of fundamentals for Forex stuff for me. I know he knows a good bit about that stuff, but he'd do us all a favor if he could do some content regarding, you know, CPI numbers, GDP. That stuff would be super interesting. And if he doesn't do it, I'm going to do it. So that's a chance for him to do that stuff. Could you do Bitcoin? Hey, Richie. Sure, we could take a look at Bitcoin at some point. Australia had an election. Ooh, I did not know that. I should have known that. Cool. Thank you guys for your yeses and your whys. Awesome. Terminator Gaming says he's got the same analysis. Awesome. Good to hear it. We're good. Election in Australia. Interesting. All right, let's move on from Aussie dollar, and let's do another Aussie pair while we're here. I believe Aussie yen was one we wanted to look at. Happy to do that with you guys. So coming in contact with something interesting here on Aussie yen, I want to point out that we are currently testing this structural level and that this structural level here is significant. Now, before I tell you guys why this is significant, we talked about this the other day. But before we go any further, I do want to take a moment. If you guys are enjoying what I'm doing here, do me a big favor. First of all, hit that like button. And second, if you are not subscribed to the channel and you're enjoying this analysis, come back and see us again. Come back and see some of the more content, some more of the content that I have on my channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I think it's like right there. That's a terrible arrow. Maybe Drunken Monkey is here. He loves my arrows when I point them straight down. I don't know why. He finds them comical. But there's a subscribe button. You can click that. Subscribe to the channel. There's also a little notification bell next to it so that you can get alerts for when I go live so that you don't miss a stream in the future. So make sure you do that. Thanks very much for your support, guys. I don't ask for money for these streams. I'm doing it for free, but I do ask that if you enjoy what I'm doing, subscribe to the channel and support what we do around here, and I will keep it coming for you. So Aussie yen, why is this structural level significant in the market? Well, this right here, guys, is the flash crash. You can see this ugly, disgusting wick where we moved all the way down here, hundreds of pips really, really quick and right back up, right? The reason that this structural level is significant is that we came into contact with this point and actually held that after the flash crash. So a lot of traders and a lot of investors are likely going to be watching Aussie yen at this point to see what happens here. Now, if we get a break of this structure, what's going to be interesting to look at is to see if we do get a break, which I think is not as likely, but we could see it happen. If we see a break, we could get some sort of a retest of that structure and a move down even to potentially fill this wick in the long term, right? Not right away, not necessarily. We don't even know that this is going to happen, but it's just a technical basis. A lot of times, we talk about this in detail, a lot of times markets will try to fill void spaces. They'll try to fill and test places. There's like the concept of trying to fill wicks. A lot of times when markets are in movements, they'll try to fill the wicks or fill gaps, right? These are points of low liquidity in the market where people are trying to get that filled. You can see, it's tough to see it right here, but you can see there was a gap in the market and the market very quickly filled that gap. Most of the time, that's what you're going to see in markets. You're going to see gaps being filled. Here's a gap being filled as well, right? This is kind of a gap. It's not quite a gap. It's just a big liquidity, bump when we had that flash crash at the beginning of the year. I believe that was at the end of the year, actually, of last year. So, but curious to see if we see some sort of action down to the low side. I think, though, that there's a better chance here looking at Aussie yen for some sort of a bounce because this is a major structural level of support and markets are looking very oversold here on Aussie yen. So that's what I see there. I think that there's a good chance we get some sort of a bounce here. Maybe this week we see some sort of move to the upside on Aussie yen. Does that make sense there, guys? Do me a big favor and put yes or no in the stream chat so I know we can move on to the next currency pair. I've got a lot of stuff to look at this afternoon. I keep saying morning because usually we do these streams in the morning, but I've got a lot of stuff to look at, so it would help me out if you just let me know if we're good to move on. Gogo says, Nick, take a look at the weekly just briefly. Looks like two other support levels at around this level in March and in June of 2016. What do you think? Let's take a look at that, sure. Quickly before I move on. We'll take a look at the weekly. Here's a structural level. I see exactly what you're talking about. There it is, right? Structural level. On the weekly, this is a major point in the market for Aussie yen. I am super curious to see what we get at this structural level coming into contact. This is a long-term level of support. You can see even going back, what is this? 2010, right, on the weekly chart. This is a long-term structural level for Aussie yen, and we are going to watch to see. I think that there's a good chance we hold this level of support, but we'll have to see what happens. If we do make a break to the downside, that's going to be game-changing because we haven't been that low since 2008. Look at that. So we'll definitely see what goes on there. Definitely going to be watching that. Thanks for bringing that up, Gogo. You're skipping me. Please tell me structure-based trading. Structure-based trading I personally like. I like using structural levels in the market. I love using supply and demand. I think that's one of the, it's the core to how I like to trade. Sorry, I don't mean to miss questions, but there are quite a bit of you guys here. We're discussing stuff in detail, and if I forget your currency or I don't look at it, it's nothing personal. I've just got a lot of stuff that we're looking at, and got to keep it moving. So we took a look at AJ. We took a look at a couple Aussie currency pairs. Let's also we're going to do Bitcoin at some point. I'd like to look at that. USD ZAR. Sure, we can take a look at that quickly. Terminator Gaming says, what are your views on whole number horizontal trend lines? I like them because psychologically it's very simple, right? A major level in stocks, currencies, cryptocurrencies, right? They're psychological. People have been talking about, Bitcoin hit 8,000, right? That's a round number play, right? And we saw some resistance come in right around 8,000 recently. So it's very simple. It's a psychological number that everybody sees and understands. We're human beings at our core, right? So when you have a round number play, there's going to be some sort of interaction at that point. So it can be a level of support or resistance depending on the market's environment. Nice one. Appreciate it. I'll give live commentary in the group. Awesome. Yeah, appreciate that, Gogo. Sorry for the misunderstanding. No problem. No, it's if I miss a question or something, it's nothing personal. I just have a lot of stuff that we're looking at here. USD ZAR, I'd like to quickly look at. Have not taken a look at this currency pair in a while. Looking here, maybe the 4-hour would be more interesting. You can see we kind of came into contact with the 61.8 here. I believe we talked about this level last time, that this long-term level of resistance here, or these fib levels were something to watch for. We'll see what we get overall with USD ZAR here. I think that the 61.8 level is going to be interesting to watch. You can see structural points coming into contact with that same level. So we could see more of a sell-off here on USD ZAR coming in this week. Would not be surprised if that sell momentum trend actually kind of finds a level of resistance here. We were looking pretty overbought on the last week or so here on USD ZAR and kind of pulled back. The dollar kind of pulled back at the end of the week. So we'll see if we can get some sort of continuation there on USD ZAR. So, cool. I'm just reading through the chats to make sure I'm looking for interesting stuff. So I'd like to take a look at Bitcoin really quick. Euro Aussie is one I'd like to take a look at as well. I believe Gogo asked for that as well, so we're going to do that. Let's pull up Euro Aussie. I'd also like to take a look at USD Swiss. Euro Aussie, look at how stretched this currency pair is. But here's the thing about Euro Aussie, we have a very clear level of resistance here, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. You can see, look at this. Notice that when we were at this level previously, Goga says, yep, EA for me and Eddie. Sure, absolutely, guys. So take a look at this, right? We're coming into contact with Euro Aussie on a level that price was not able to close above. And I'd like to use red just to clarify what we're talking about here. We had all this resistance here, lots of long wicks to the upside, and we could not close price above this level of horizontal resistance, right? That's a key indication that sellers were in control, right? We had no ability for sellers to close above this level here. And in fact, we came up and we just briefly touched it on Friday to potentially, come into contact with that. So I would not be surprised if we do see some sort of a retracement here on EA coming soon. Now, is it a guarantee? Do we know that that's going to happen? No, of course we don't. But there's a good chance that when markets get overstretched to the upside like this, that there's going to be some people who are saying, well, there's a good, nice sell-off. Yancey says no Auburn cup today. Nope, I've got my red cup today. Changing it up. That's funny that you remember that, though. That cup is huge. I need it, though, because when I do these live streams for a while, it does get pretty tiring on my voice. Abdullah says EA ready for a sell. Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. It's looking pretty stretched to the upside, and we're coming into a long-term level of resistance, right? Now, does it mean that it has to reverse? Nope, it could actually keep going. That's part of the craziness about markets, is you don't get any sort of guarantees like that. However, I think that there's a very good chance that we do see some sort of retracement for sellers to potentially get in and take advantage of a stretched market like this. I think that that could be something to watch for. As long as you manage your risk, as long as you keep your positions small relative to your account, I think you have a pretty good chance of potentially making some money there. Of course, remember, I'm not telling you what you should or should not do. I'm just simply here to give educational advice or educational content and information. I'm not here to give any sort of investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing with you guys what I have done for quite some time, which is stare at these charts and try and make money from them. So thank you guys very much for being here. Again, if you are new to the stream, I just want to take a second. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Don't ask for any money for doing this, but I do ask that you support what we do here by subscribing to the channel and also giving this video a thumbs up. Guys, what I do when I'm looking back on my videos is the ones that get more likes, they kind of get more of an engagement factor. I try to make more of those videos because that shows me that you guys are enjoying that sort of content. And my goal with this channel is to bring as much value to you guys as traders as I can. So if you enjoy a video, by hitting that like button, you really are showing me what you want to see more of, and I'm going to adjust and make the channel the best I can for you. So just a little feedback. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you are enjoying this. So looking at Euro Aussie, I think that was some pretty good simple analysis there. I'd like to also quickly shift over here to Bitcoin for the time being. Should be interesting to see what we see here on Bitcoin. We came into temporary levels of support here on Bitcoin, and we found buyers. Now, here's the thing about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one of those markets where you can actually do pretty well purely off structural highs and structural lows. Because a lot of times what happens with Bitcoin is you have a lot of momentum in the market. And when things start to get going, we talked about this structural level here weeks ago. Talked about the fact that this was kind of our recent high, and that if we got a break above that structure, then that was going to be a nice bull flag, right? Here was our move to the upside. We consolidated and potentially, and then we got a nice move to the upside. And we talked exactly about that trade setup. We said, I don't love to trade a ton of breakouts all the time. I know how to trade breakouts. It's just not my personal style. But I said on Bitcoin, there's a good chance that we see that sort of action on Bitcoin, where if something breaks a structural high, there's a lot of crazed buying that comes in. And if you're, I don't recommend chasing the highs. However, if you do want to get in on a momentum break at a pinpoint level and manage your risk accordingly, there's actually some great opportunity there. And what we're seeing here on Bitcoin right now is a similar setup, right? This is the opportunity that comes and again in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I plan on doing a little bit more with cryptocurrency in the VIP group, potentially alerting you guys about any trade setups that I do see, right? For those of you guys who are on VIP member, I will be looking at that a little bit more and trying to see if I can bring some content there for you guys. Again, guys, if you're not a VIP member and you'd like to follow what I'm doing in the markets, you get access to all of my trading in the currencies world. You potentially get access to my cryptocurrency actions. If you would like to follow what I'm doing both on the intraday swing trading level in the currencies market, what you can do down below in the description, there is a link to my website. It's TraderNickFX.com. You can come click join the team, come sign up, come work with us. I'll give you just a quick rundown of what it looks like. You can see overall, kind of just chat rooms full of really friendly people. We're working together. You get access to my Forex swing trading signals, my day trading signals, stock and indices signals as well, and all sorts of other stuff. You also get educational content. And again, we have a growth challenge going on. We have a very active members chat, all sorts of good stuff there. So if you would like to come be involved in that, I definitely recommend joining our team. You can do so by clicking the link in the description, TraderNickFX.com. Or if you would just like to send me a question about that, you can send me a message at TraderNick135 on Instagram or on Telegram. I would love to chat with you guys if you have an interest in joining the VIP team. That's how you can do so. Send me a message on one of the two platforms and I will get back to you shortly after and help you out. So continuing on here on Bitcoin, we have a potential setup here, similar structure to this one right here. Right? We have a market that's in momentum, a market that's absolutely going crazy, and that there's some good chance here that if we do get a break above structure high, that we see some sort of momentum push. Now, is it a guarantee? Nope, not, unfortunately not. But we could see a big movement to the upside if we get a break above structural levels of resistance, right? So we could actually see, if we see a break above that resistance, we could see a buy setup where you manage your risk accordingly, right? You want to be careful with the situation. You want to get out of the trade if it's not going your way. But if it does go your way, there's a good chance that we get a break and continuation and a leg higher, just like we saw here, right? That same setup presented itself back here where we had a break above that structure and then we had a nice push to the upside, a nice run up from the 5,500 range all the way up to, what is that? I think the highs were 8,400, somewhere right around there. So very, very big movement to the upside. Terminator Gaming says, Nick, are you on TradingView? I am, but I don't really post on there. It's TraderNick135 as well. If you'd like to get in contact with me, anybody who is interested in following what I do live, you can do so by going to Instagram or Telegram, sending me a message on there, TraderNick135. So hopefully that helps on Bitcoin. Just kind of my thoughts there. Something to look out for. GBPJPY, I'd like to briefly look at for sure. Looking at the daily, oversold heavily, I think, on the daily, the 4 hour. Should be interesting to see what we get there. I think that this structural level here is going to be something to watch for on GBPJPY. I think that we could very easily see a bounce maybe up to this structural level here as kind of a first stop. Now, if we do get some sort of bullishness on the pound, we could see prices rally here and make a push even back up to something like this range here, right? We talk about it again and again on this stream, guys, because I want you to understand that markets tend to correct to structural levels. I have a few strategies that I've used in the past to pretty great success overall, right? Using stretched pricing and finding high probability entries in combination with proper risk management. In fact, that's what I base my entire signal service on, is some of those strategies that I do there, and they've worked very well for me over a long period of time. Now, every single day, is it going to print money for us? Nope. And anybody who tells you that that's how they do it, they're lying to you. That's not how trading works, right? If you want to be successful in trading, it's not a one-day thing. It's not a one-week thing. It's not a one-month thing. It's a many-year thing. And if you are serious about your education, if you're serious about getting involved with the right types of people, you know, not just talking about myself, I'm talking about the many friendly people that are in our community. The best way to get involved is to go to tradernickfx.com. It's in the description. Sign up to be a member with us. Get involved in the conversation. Surround yourself with some serious traders. Involve yourself with some winning traders. Understand what they're doing. Learn from them. This is the whole point of the service that I do offer. I started this service because it was something that I did not have when I was a new trader that I needed to have. And that's the whole point of what I do today and what I do with all of these fantastic people, many of which are in this chat right now that are involved in our trading community. We come together as a team. We work together as a team. We surround ourselves with positive-minded, serious, dedicated traders. And as a new trader, that's exactly what I needed, and that's why I created it for other people. So I'd love if you come join us. I'd love to get you involved. And all you have to do so is either send me a message on TradingView, I'm not on TradingView, on Telegram or on Instagram, or go to the website, tradernickfx.com. Daniel says, hi, Nick, am I too late getting here? No, you are not. And you can also go back in the video if you missed anything and catch up on whatever you were not here to see. So just glad you showed up, Daniel. Thanks very much for being here. Kansas alumni, we're still salty about March. Oh, Yancey, that's funny. Yeah, that was a big upset. We got, that was a lot of fun to watch on our end, I'll say that. No hard feelings, though. Burkay says, hi, Nick, I'm late as well. It's okay, no worries. We're doing a lot of great analysis, and you guys can go back in the stream if you miss it after this thing is over, okay? Let me move on here, looking at GBPJPY real quick. I'd like to do some analysis here. I think we're coming into that structural level that we identified back here. You can't really quite see it on the screen anymore, but we're coming into an interesting level of support here to see if we can get some sort of a bounce. I think that this level here is potentially our first stop, right? If we get a retracement, we could see that going on. And if we make a move higher, right? If we see ourselves breaking that structure to the upside, if we get some sort of bullishness on the pound this week, right? The pound going up, and if the yen were to come down a little bit, we could see price very quickly make a retracement back to this level of resistance here at this structural point. Remember, we talk about again and again on the stream, guys, that the markets tend to like to come back and test levels that have been broken or structure that's been broken in the price, right? So this structural level is a clear level where sellers may be ready to hang out and ready to wait for price to come up to. But again, they may be patiently waiting, and that could give bulls a chance to move price back to that point. Hopefully that makes sense there. Can you guys do me a big favor and just put yes or no if you are good to go on GBPJPY. Does this make sense? Yes or no in the stream chat. That would definitely help me out and get us to move on to the next currency pair. Going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon. I do appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. Thanks so much for being here. Very glad we had the chance to get on the charts and work together here. I believe we also hit 1,200 subscribers just recently, and to me that's just amazing. When I started this YouTube channel, I was happy just to get to like 50. I believe I was like, I think I went and had a beer when we got 50 subscribers. That's funny because you guys are amazing and your support means so much to me. I do appreciate everything that you do by showing up and asking good questions and interacting. So thank you very much for that, guys. Thanks for your feedback. We're good to go here on GBPJPY. So Gogo says pound will be weak for another week, I think, only because of the European Parliament elections Thursday. Yeah, interesting point. And we'll see what we get there on the pound this week, if we can get some sort of retracement. Sometimes you never know with the pound. It can be very volatile. DXY, sure, we can take a look at that. I'm glad you guys are laughing at my 50 subscriber party that I had. Just so you know, it was a 50 party subscriber that I did completely by myself. I think I went to the bar and had a beer by myself. I don't know if that's lame or not. I'd never done that before, but it was a lot of fun. I had a conversation with a bartender. But pretty fun stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at CAD Swiss quickly. I think that's a good one to take a look at for Bouquet. Let's see. Dollar index. I'm going to really quickly just cut ahead to the DXY just so I don't forget it. What we're going to do here is we're going to do at DXY. We're going to take a quick look at CAD Swiss, and then we are going to take a look at Euro New Zealand, and that's going to wrap us up for the day. I've got some other stuff that I'd like to go do, and we're going to call it there. We've done quite a bit of currency pairs this afternoon here, getting into the evening. I'm going to go have dinner with my girlfriend and kind of just take some time away from the charts again. I did do a lot of editing this morning. We put some stuff out on the YouTube channel, and I've also got some other videos planned to come out for you guys this week, trying to bring as much value as I can to you guys on the YouTube channel, because I understand that, you know, there's a lack of that on the YouTube space for Forex traders that are looking for, you know, genuine help. And that's really what I started this channel for in the beginning. To me, it blows me away that now I have people showing up, listening, working, and helping to build this community together, right? It's not just me making content for you guys. I like this community because it really is people coming together, working together on the charts, sharing information, discussing things. You know, that's kind of the beauty of what this thing has become. Looking at DXY, what's going to be interesting is to see if we can hold this structural high here coming into the week. We did see a retracement off of the dollar for a while, but currently back up to test that structural level of resistance. We'll see if that can hold. You know, I would not bet on it necessarily because overall the trend has been pretty strong. But we could see, you know, again, we did get a nice retracement there. So it wouldn't be out of the question to see some double top action here on that level of resistance there on the DXY. Hopefully that makes sense there. We did find support off of this trend line, but we did get a nice corrective push or a nice continuation push there. We'll see if that can continue this week. We'll have to watch with some of the big news coming out with the dollar. That's going to definitely be impactful, and we'll see what we get off of those structural levels, right? Because technical analysis, you know, is one thing, but having those fundamental news releases is going to, you know, cause price to potentially change directions or potentially to continue. We will see what we get with, I believe we have FOMC stuff coming out this week. We also have Powell speaking. So we have some things with the dollar that's going to cause some potential volatility. So I'd watch for that. Watch the news, or at least, you know, watch the release, see what we get on the price action side of things to potentially take advantage of trade setups there. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense on the DXY. Let's take a quick look at CAD Swiss. We'll take a look at Euro New Zealand, and then we will move on. Now, why do I have a trend line going off into nothing? Let's take a look here. CAD Swiss. Now, we talked about this structural level weeks ago, right? This was a major level of structure. We also talked about this trend here. And what's interesting is look at this, guys. We'll see if we can get some continuation on this concept here. But I want to point out with CAD Swiss something of major importance. Structural levels of support here coming into the market. We had buyers stepping in along this trend line, and there was a good chance that we had buyers step up again, but that's not what we saw. In fact, we saw a break of that structure this is a daily chart, so that was last week, right? And we saw a price movement to the downside, retracement back up to that level, and we're currently testing that trend line resistance. What's going to be interesting with with CAD Swiss is to see if this level can now act as resistance, in which case I would not be surprised if we found our way down to test this level of support, right? Because that's going to be our next level for buyers to try and defend a sell move. And I think that there's a good chance that this structural level, as it did get broken, I think there's a good chance we could see a seller market push price lower in the next coming days or weeks. Okay, so that's something to look out for on CAD Swiss. Now, is that a guarantee? Nope. And in fact, if we do make a movement to the high side, if we do nullify that, we could be headed back to test highs. But I think the more likely chance here is that we did get a nice structure break, and I think that a lot of sellers will potentially step in here and try and price and move price lower. So that's what I think is potentially going to happen on CAD Swiss. So be looking out for that. Perkay says, have a nice time with your girlfriend. Thank you very much. I sure will. I think we are either going to go see a movie or we're going to go on a hike. I'm not sure what we're doing, but Sunday night stroll perhaps. So here says, why is gold not following the technicals? You know, that's a great question. We talked about gold earlier in the stream. I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but you can go back. I believe it was the first one we did. And that's exactly what we talked about. It's not respecting technicals, right? And that's the problem with trading is there's no technical analysis that's going to be perfect. And sometimes technicals just will purely not work because of some sort of fundamental news release or just volatility of the market or market manipulation, right? And that's why technicals, sure, they have their place and they can be successful, but they're not always going to work. And we have to understand that as traders. So let's see here. What we're going to do, we're going to end with our last currency pair of the day is Euro New Zealand. Let's take a look at that. So Euro New Zealand, similar structure to Euro Aussie, except that we are a little bit higher on this level of resistance here. You can see, looking at Euro New Zealand, long term, right? This is a daily chart. Strong structural level of resistance here, right? Then we had a movement, right? We had a broken down structure of this. We had a retrace here, and we found seller resistance at this point in the market. Would not be surprised that this structure holds again as a sell pressure point, right? That's what you're usually going to see in the market is that strong levels of support and resistance are typically going to hold. Now, are they going to work every single time? No. And that's why a lot of times people get frustrated with technicals when they don't work every single time because people are looking, right? People are on the internet. They're looking up on YouTube, perfect trading strategy or, 1, 2, 3 simple strategy that makes me money, right? People want that, but people are never going to get that because if it were that easy, nobody would ever do anything but trade because it'd be so easy to make money. You could just sit there and print money. If it was, you see all these guys, I'm not saying any names, but you see all these jokes of people that are on the internet promising you, I use a simple 1, 2, 3 entry and I win all the time and I'm rich and come buy everything that I have available. It's all nonsense because trading is not like that. Trading is not as simple as, oh, it's a double top. We sell here and now we print money, right? Not the case. That's not how markets work. We have to be more adaptive. We have to be smarter. We can't just do what everybody else is doing because that obviously doesn't work. So what does work? What works is understanding market flows, understanding how to be adaptive in different market environments, understanding risk management. I can say it again and again until I'm blue in my face and people, still will struggle with the concept. Keep your positions small. Don't risk a big chunk of your account. I had somebody join my signals group at one point and we had a losing trade. And I tried to explain to them before they even trade. Then this is why when I give you signals, I'm not telling you what to trade because at the end of the day, you're in control of your own account. That's why I don't manage any money. I'm not a financial advisor. The problem is people don't listen enough to the simple concepts that help you in your trading strategy. And I said, I have a guide on risk management. If you're going to trade alongside me, here's what I do for following my risk management plans. I'd recommend that, you should at least consider it. And so, you can say it again and again, but sure thing that person did was put a huge position on and lost a good chunk of money. And it was not even a big drawdown at all. It was just a minor, loser. and they put so much on the trade that it was a massive loser. And that's the problem that people just genuinely do not understand about risk management. I have some videos on risk management on my channel. I think everybody should watch those videos. Risk management part 1 and 2 somewhere on my channel. You can look it up in the search bar of YouTube. That'll also be a good way to find it. Definitely recommend that. But understanding risk management, that's what's going to make you a successful trader in the long run. Risk management, psychological discipline. Of course, know your charts, but your charts, your entries are not going to be the thing that make you rich. It's the other things that are going to make you successful. Now, they're going to make you rich at all? Well, maybe with time, but not within the week, right? That's what people do not get, and they do not want to get, right? People don't want to hear that they can't get rich in a week. But you guys, right? If you stick around on my channel and you continue to watch me and you continue to interact with me and ask me questions and work with me in the VIP room, you guys are the people that I want to surround myself with, because you understand that it's not a get-rich-quick game, right? We're here for the long term. We're traders. If you are a trader, if you want to call yourself a trader or an investor, you understand these principles, and you understand that it's not easy and that it takes time and it takes effort. And that's what people will not say to you on the internet. But I want to be different. Not for me, not for, I want to be different because I needed this stuff when I was a new trader. And so now I try and bring it to people on the internet. I don't know, it feels like my calling, and I want to do it for you, and I want to do it for a lot of people. So do me a big favor. If my channel has helped you, share it with a friend. Because like I said, it'd be much easier just to be like all those clowns on Instagram, as Gogo said, and just kind of promote that way. But that's not going to help anybody. What I want to help people is the truth. And unfortunately, the truth doesn't sell as much, but to the right people, they listen, right? And so share this channel with a friend if this has been helpful to you guys. I'm going to call it quits here for the day. I do appreciate you being here. I appreciate all of your support, all of your time spent on my channel. Does a huge amount of stuff for the community, because the more times you watch the channel and share it with your friends, the more people that we can impact and help here in our community. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. Again, if you have an interest in joining my team, if you want to work closer with me, you can get involved in our trading community. Again, this is kind of what it looks like. We have some super awesome people involved. We have a fantastic community of, like I said, genuine traders that understand the truth about things, which is that trading takes work and it takes time. If you want to invest in your own growth as a trader, and also follow what I'm doing in the markets live to learn from, not just to copy, right? I want you to learn something. You can do so by sending me a message on Instagram or on Telegram at TraderNick135. I would love to hear from some of you guys, and especially if you would like to get involved with our team, send me a message there. I can chat with you about it. You can also sign up at TraderNickFX.com. It's in the description down below. You can become a member there. Click join the team, sign up to be there with us, and get involved. Guys, thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Relax a little bit before the markets get open, and we will be back. VIP members, be paying attention. We will have signals coming out as per usual. Guys, have a great rest of your weekend again. I hope to see you soon. Thanks very much for being here.